So, when does a year end? I mean, for most of us, the answer is obvious, right? December 31st. But what if I told you that for some of the world's biggest airlines, the year might end in March or June or maybe even September? Today, we're diving into the hidden logic behind aviation's unique financial clock.
It sounds like a super simple question, right? But the answer? Oh man, it tells you so much about how a business really ticks.
Yeah, for pretty much everyone, the year wraps up on December 31st. It's just how we're wired. It's how we mark everything in our own lives. Birthdays, holidays, New Year's resolutions. So it's only natural to think the corporate world runs on that exact same clock. And here's where it gets really interesting. In the world of aviation, December 31st is often just, well, another Tuesday. A lot of them operate on a completely different clock. And as we're about to see, they do it for some very smart, very strategic reasons. All right, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to bust that calendar year myth, get crystal clear on what a financial year really is, and then explore why aviation has such unique timetables. After that, we'll look at why these dates have huge consequences, and finally, we'll land on the simple principle of finding the best fit. Okay, first things first. We've got to get the basics down. What in the world is a financial year, anyway? So a financial year, or you might hear it called a fiscal year, it's really just any 12-month stretch that a company uses for its books. And here's the most important rule to remember. It does not have to line up with the calendar. It can start whenever they want, as long as they're consistent about it. And believe me, this 12-month cycle is the absolute backbone of how a company is run. It sets the rhythm for pretty much everything. When they report their earnings, when the auditors come in, when they hold that big annual shareholder meeting, even when the regulators come knocking. It's basically the company's official timeline. But that begs the question, right? If we already have a calendar year that works perfectly fine for all of us, why on earth would you invent a whole separate system? Why add all this extra complexity? And the answer, when you think about it, is actually pretty brilliant. It's all about getting an honest picture of the business. See, a financial year is designed to capture one complete, natural cycle of how that business operates. For a company like an airline where profits go on this wild seasonal roller coaster, chopping the year off on December 31st would just give you a totally warped, funhouse mirror view of how they're really doing. Okay, so let's bring this home to aviation. Why do so many airlines just ignore the calendar year? Well, it's not just one thing. It's actually a combination of some really powerful forces all pushing in the same direction. You can pretty much boil it down to four key drivers. Sometimes it's government rules. Other times it's those peak travel seasons we talked about. It could be the sheer complexity of a huge global company, or even specific requests from safety regulators. Okay, seasonality is the big one, for sure. An airline's year is really a tale of two seasons. You've got the sunny half, that's peak travel time. That's where they make almost all their money. Then you've got the winter half, it's quieter, it's a time for heavy maintenance, and costs tend to go up. So imagine ending your financial year in, say, August, right smack in the middle of that summer peak. It'd be like stopping a movie right during the big action scene. You'd get a completely distorted picture of what happened. But it's not just about the seasons. There are other big forces at work here, too. For example, if an airline is state-owned, it might have to line up its calendar with the government's budget cycle. Makes sense for public accountability, right? Or think about a massive aviation group with airlines in 10 different countries. They have to somehow pick one date to roll up all those different financial results. And sometimes it's as simple as an aviation authority saying, hey, we need your data reported during this window to match our own review cycles. All right, so we get why they do it. But what does it all mean? What are the real-world consequences? Because this isn't just some boring accounting detail. It has ripple effects on everything from stock prices to safety checks. This is a huge trap for investors who aren't paying attention. Let's say you have Airline A, which ends its year in March, capturing that whole winter lull. Then you have Airline B, which ends its year in December. If you try to compare them side by side, it's totally meaningless. It's not apples to apples. It's more like comparing one company's best season against another's worst. It can make a company look like its performance just fell off a cliff, when really it's just a trick of the timeline. That's why knowing an airline's financial year isn't just a piece of trivia. It's absolutely fundamental to understanding its true financial health. And this financial calendar, it literally sets the entire rhythm for the whole company. It dictates when the board gets together to review performance, when they decide on dividends, when they formally assess the biggest risks. And here's the thing. If you pick the wrong date, If your calendar doesn't line up with the reality of your business, you can create some seriously dangerous blind spots in your oversight. In this next part might be the most surprising connection of all. A company's accounting schedule can actually have an indirect but very real impact on its safety and security. Just think about it for a second. The financial year drives the budget cycle, and that budget, it determines how much money gets spent on everything you see here: staffing levels, pilot training, new tech upgrades, and crucial aircraft maintenance. So, if your financial calendar is out of sync with your operational needs, you could find yourself accidentally underinvesting in safety right before you need it most. Scary, right?
So, if December 31st isn't always the right answer, then what is? Well, the solution isn't about finding one magic date. It's about a simple but really powerful principle.
The most important thing to get is that there is no single correct financial year. The best financial year is simply one that is, number one, appropriate for the business cycle. Number two, transparent so that everybody, investors, regulators, you name it, understands the logic. And number three, consistent so you can make fair, apples to apples comparisons year after year. So in the end, what might look like a confusing little quirk from the outside is actually a really logical and strategic choice. It's a response to the complex realities of running a global aviation business, things like regulations, seasonality, and corporate governance. It's not a flaw to be fixed, it's a tool for better management. And that right there is the key idea to take away from all of this. The choice of a financial year doesn't actually change a company's performance. What it changes is our ability to understand that performance. It's not about changing the numbers. It's about letting those numbers tell the truest story possible.